Lindsay, very much so. I've been in a number of engagements with people where it is the bubbling under area. Over the years that I've been here, social media, which I knew nothing about when the WEF were already talking about it, has come to the fore. Climate change as well has been something that was discovered for the conversation, if you like, here long before it became ubiquitous, and now it's all about inequality. It's all about income distribution. So it is a major issue. But let's talk to someone who's a most unlikely person to be here on CNBC Africa, being a business channel. First of all, he's a prince from Belgium, and secondly, he runs a national park in the most unlikely place in the world, in the DRC.
Yes, that's right. I work for the National Park Service in Congo, in a national park called Virunga National Park, where I've been working as director for the past 7 years.
Now, we do know that Belgium's got a historic relationship with the DRC, but you wouldn't expect someone like you to be A, living there, and B, to be running a national park. You must have a story.
Well, my story has always been very much tied to the continent. I was born in North Africa. I grew up in Kenya, and then I spent most of my professional life in the Congo. I arrived there in 1993, working with the National Park Service. So I've been there ever since.
Why were you drawn to that in particular? Because there was an assassination attempt on your life, according to Wikipedia, about a year ago.
Well, I was drawn to Virunga because I've been a conservationist as far back as I can remember, and Virunga is the oldest national park on the African continent, but it's also its richest in terms of its biological value. It has more species of reptiles, mammals and birds than any other park in the world. And of course there are the mountain gorillas that are such an attraction. But what really kept me in Virunga for all those years is the incredible commitment of the Congolese, and particularly the Congolese rangers, who've been struggling to keep this park alive and have been very successful in doing so against incredible odds, and with facing such threats to the park, but also to their own security.
But your security, they're part of the country. You have options, clearly. Why would people want to attack you in that way?
Well, in 2008, I was appointed as their commanding officer, so I became part of I became a public servant in the Congolese administration, working for the Congolese government. And so I have to share the risks that they take. That's the decision you make when you join public service, when you become a serviceman, as it were. And of course, what happened to me has to be seen in context. 140 of our staff have been killed since the beginning of the war in 1996. Many more have been wounded. I was injured. I survived. The decision to stay is a decision you make when you sign up. And of course, when the people who are working with you make that commitment, it's very motivating, and so you keep going.
Do you get support by the people that you're meeting here in Davos? The story you're telling now is one that is not universally known, but amongst the elites that you would be bumping into here, do they hear your story and say, we'd like to help Virunga?
Yes, I mean, we live in the real world, and Virunga has been drawn into a much wider context. It's been pulled into this terrible war that's been affecting eastern Congo, that has led to the death of over 6 million Congolese, and we're right at the center of that. Every war since 1996 has started either within the national park or immediately around it, and so we're drawn into one of the biggest regional conflicts in Africa, one of the most tragic wars since the Second World War. But also we're affected with these economic realities. One of the great confrontations that we're facing at the moment is the issue of illegal oil in the national park, which is in this case a British oil company. And it's something that the law enforcement authorities that we are as a National Park Service have to confront, and it's extremely difficult, and we can't do it on our own. We're completely disempowered if we tackle it in isolation, and so we have to come to these kinds of fora to draw the world's attention on these issues and try and make progress.
Do they get it, though? And I ask this in the context of the tragedy in Paris a couple of weeks ago at Charlie Hebdo, and the point you've just made now, that 140 of your people who are just trying to protect a game reserve have lost their lives in service, and pretty much no one knows about it.
Well, of course, the world's attention is always drawn to, Western capitals when tragedies happen there. And the horrors that are happening, and particularly in Africa, are so often forgotten. But we have to remember that we live more and more in a world where everything is interlinked, and we're also living in a world which is becoming increasingly violent, and it becomes very important now to try and really put the effort into understanding the root causes of that violence, and often it is related to resource extraction. There has been a lot of work to try and understand the horrors that have been happening in eastern Congo, and we're beginning to realize that these wars, this incredible level of violence, is tied to the illegal extraction of natural resources in eastern Congo, and so it becomes very important to try and examine this, to share this in this kind of forum.
On a brighter note, how do I come and visit you? How do tourists from South Africa, in fact from the whole of Africa, come and visit Virunga? Is it safe?
Well, of course, there is a brighter side to all of this, and we wouldn't carry on if we didn't have enormous hope that we can turn the situation around. And of course, a big part of that is tourism. Tourism is a transformational industry that can create an enormous amount of employment around the national park, and it's by creating employment that you can move out of this chronic state of civil war. And it is possible to visit Virunga because the park staff, the rangers, have worked incredibly hard to stabilise certain parts of the park, like where the mountain gorillas are, and this incredible volcano, this active volcano that people come and visit. So actually more than 6,000 people have come to visit it in the last few years, and they've all enjoyed the experience immensely, and have been able to go there safely and enjoy the best that Congo has to offer.
The dividends of peace must be huge. We were talking yesterday with the Turkish Prime Minister, who said they have 35 million tourists a year. Virunga gets 6,000, so I guess the upside.
Yes, but it's growing very fast. When you start from zero, your growth is impressive. And so we do expect to grow very fast in the next few years, and that's where our hope lies.
Our thanks to Prince Emmanuel de Merode.